Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 5 of the Redzone Review podcast. I'm once again joined today by Carson.
Hello.
He was in the last episode. We're doing almost like a bonus episode. You know, most of the time I do maybe once every week and a half-ish. But you know what? We thought, we had a pretty good time last time.
Yeah.
We're going to do it again, and we sort of made a makeshift, we made some segments that I think is a fun one here today. And it's ironic, we had some news break as we were sort of typing up and getting ready for what the show was going to be today. Patrick Mahomes, something big happened, so you're going to find out.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, so you'll find out about that later. But our agenda today is we're actually going to be, me and Carson, we made
Preseason, top 25 for college football.
Yeah.
And then our Heisman candidates.
Correct. We both made lists.
So we were going to do conference realignments.
Yeah, we were going to talk about that as our third subject, but then the news broke, so we'll talk about that. But yeah, so basically we each made our separate lists, and we each made our separate Heisman lists as well. So you're going to get 2 takes about each subject. So, starting with our top 25, we're going to reveal Carson's first. Here's Carson's top 25 preseason poll for college football.
So, I said Alabama because it's Alabama. So, I think they just had a down year, LSU was very good, which, yeah.
Are you confident in their quarterback, Mac Jones, instead of Tua?
I think he could be good. He showed at the end of the season that he could be good, and I think he will. Ohio State is just a machine at this point.
Yep. As
long as they don't play Clemson, they have a chance. They literally have a clear shot to the national title.
Yeah.
They either need to get 1 or 4.
Yeah.
And then I put Clemson. I think Clemson and Ohio State are interchangeable because they're both on the same level of, they're just very good.
When they played, they were very close last year. Yeah.
But Clemson barely edged them out. And then Georgia, I think Oklahoma could also switch in with Georgia because Oklahoma's a very good team. But then again, they're probably going to get destroyed because it's the Big 12 and their defense is not that good. And then, Florida's a good team, very good.
Yep. Tough SEC.
Yeah, I think they finished 3rd in their division, right?
Yeah, or in their conference, Yeah.
And then I put Penn State because they only had 1 loss last year. That was to Minnesota. But they beat some really good teams last year. And then Notre Dame, obviously, also very good. Have some good talent. Yeah. Oregon lost their quarterback, Justin Herbert.
Yeah, they did lose Justin Herbert.
But I still think they have a good surrounding team. LSU, they lost...
Joe Burrow.
Did they lose Kyle Brady?
Yes, they did to the Panthers. Yes.
So they lost their key pieces to a
successful offense. Yeah.
But maybe their head coach,
Ed Orgeron.
Yeah, maybe he can turn that around, get them on maybe back to back. I don't know, but they still need a lot of improvement. And then Wisconsin, very good team. They're just good. And then Auburn, also just most of these teams in the top 15 are very good.
Yeah, really quick, I'll just jump. But I think a lot of the top teams, as you see here, are almost up there every year.
It's kind of hard to make the list.
Yes, it is very hard. And, I think these top teams, though, it's almost where do I rank them? Because a lot of these teams are here every year. You see the top 12 or so.
And then Minnesota, I may have put them a little bit ahead, but I feel like they can do the same thing as last year. Their schedule is a little bit harder, but not too much. Like, they're not playing Ohio State.
Right.
They're not playing the top teams. So I think they could still go maybe 11-1, 10-2. Right in that top 15, top 10 range. And then Texas A&M had they improved a lot last season with Jimbo Fisher still there. Very good team. Boise State. I think they're the top group of 5 team.
Yeah, that's a bold take. I'll name that as a hot take.
And then you got... So I put Oklahoma State at 16, but without their running back, Chuba Hubbard, I think they are out of the top 25.
Yeah, so I'm going to quick explain if you guys do not know. Chuba Hubbard, who is their top running back, You might even see him in the Heisman watch later. Yeah. He basically, he said unless things don't change around Oklahoma State because of, different reasons, including the coach, with, the social injustice type of piece, he doesn't think the program is correctly advertising what they should be in a positive way. So he said, if things do not change around Oklahoma State, I'm not going to play. Mm-hmm. So if he doesn't, like you said, it probably changes where you would rank them. Yeah.
But right now, I'm going to assume that he will play.
Okay.
And then UCF also, they're good, but they're in a tough AAC conference. So I think, whoever gets out of there will probably be in the top 15.
I could see that. I could.
I put Michigan at 18 because they always go 10-2 because they're always playing Penn State. They're always playing Ohio State. So they're always going to lose those 2 games. Because, in my opinion, I think that Jim Harbaugh can't win the big game.
I can definitely agree with that. I can see where you're coming from on that.
I don't think he's beaten Ohio State. I don't think he's even... He might have been close one of those years.
Yeah, but I don't think he has beaten.
Mm-hmm. But Penn State last year, they showed some real improvement. They were pretty close, but in the first half, it wasn't good. But you know what? They'll be ranked definitely in the top 25. North Carolina, they have improved.
Yeah.
They almost beat Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're going to be a pretty good team. SMU, they are very good in that AAC.
Yeah.
But
that's definitely...
it's just tough because they have Memphis, UCF, and all these other teams. And then Cincinnati, I think, is also in the AAC.
Yeah, which I'm going to quick say, it seems like you are believing in SMU, and I can definitely see that. They can be a really good dark horse team. So, yeah. And
then Cincinnati also, good. USC, I think they're a little overrated of a team.
I can see that. Yeah.
Because, last year they had a pretty good season, but the year before, I feel like they've won 5-7, a little too much to rank them in the top 25. Maybe they have a top recruiting class, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Can the coaches develop the players? That's
good question.
Mm-hmm. And then Memphis, again, very good team, just in a bad conference.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. If we ever do get to conference realignment, I think that's one you could see take a jump up.
I think they could go to the SEC or
Big 12.
Yeah,
maybe,
Big 12. I think SMU will probably go to the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Iowa. Again, most of these teams are good to amazing. So Iowa, again, really consistent every year.
Yeah.
Usually ranked in the top 20, 25 teams.
Mm-hmm.
But on the lower end, and I think they're actually a really good team, so I think they could move up into the top 15. And then Virginia Tech, I don't know, it's a little bit of a wish-wash.
Yeah, I can, yeah.
And, with Texas, I put Virginia Tech a little bit above because I think people are overrating Texas and what Sam Ehlinger can do for that team.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
So Texas is just on the boat for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's his list, and next I'm going to talk about my list. Some of it is similar, and some of it's honestly completely different, so I think it's fun to see both of our takes. So for me, I have Ohio State number 1. I think Justin Fields is good enough to sort of lead them into a top team. They were really close last year. I think, as I'll talk about, I think a lot of the other top teams lost a lot. I think Ohio State really, yes, they lost their running back, but running backs honestly can be pretty replaceable.
Mm-hmm. I feel like there's a lot always that one or, there's always 5 really good running backs in a class.
Totally. And then Justin Fields, like I said, is really good. And it's
Ohio State, so they can easily
for sure
get one, lose one, then get one back.
Yeah. Clemson, I didn't put number 1 because I think the Justin Ross injury, so that's Trevor Lawrence losing his number 1 receiver. And that's, to me, is very significant. They obviously still have Travis Etienne, but I think that loss is super significant, and I think that really will affect them, and I don't think people are necessarily focusing on that right now. I think that that's a big loss for Clemson. Alabama, just like what you said, they're Alabama. Yes, they lost Tua, and I definitely like Tua a lot. He's a great college quarterback for sure, so that's a big loss, but I think that, Mac Jones wasn't awful, definitely not Tua level, but I think he can still lead them. That defense is good enough, and then they still have Najee Harris to run the ball for him. Then you have Oklahoma. I think that their quarterback, Spencer Rattler, who has not played a snap yet, is already being in some Heisman contention with some people. I just don't like that. They assume just because it's Lincoln Riley, Oklahoma player, that it's going to jump. Which, yes, he has done it multiple years in a row. He went from Baker to Kyler to Jalen, and now he didn't bring in a transfer. He still has Spencer Rattler, who is a pretty good recruit, but I think he's very overrated. But I do have them top 4 because their offense is going to be really good. But like you said, maybe not in that top 3 because they're in a lower defensive conference, and their defense isn't always the best. 5, Georgia and Florida. I'm going to bring them together. They're both in the SEC East.
So that's really tough division to get out of.
Right, totally. I think one of them wins it. It's very close. Jamie Newman going to Georgia, very significant in my opinion. I think he's going to be a big impact. And then Florida, they've still got Kyle Trask. Defense is pretty good. I think both those teams are really going to be competing, and one of them will make its way out and have a better shot at making the playoff. Which, by the way, I think they should make the playoff bigger than 4 teams, but that's what it is in the moment. Penn State, I have at 7. Same with Carson, and 8, Notre Dame. Both are really good teams. I think for Penn State, they're really good all the time. You know, when they had Barkley
very consistent,
very consistent, but then they, they're in the honestly, I'm going to be completely honest, I think the East in the...
It's probably one of the tougher divisions.
The East in the Big Ten is insane.
I feel like the West, there's always like a 2-team race.
Yep.
Minnesota, Wisconsin,
it sort
Nebraska.
of flips. I mean, within the last few years, we've seen Wisconsin, Northwestern get wins, and then even Nebraska can be up there in Minnesota. But I think looking at the East, every year it's always going to be Ohio
3
State.
Teams,
and then you can see Michigan or Michigan State and then Penn State. And then that sort of, a lot of them are going to get left out. Notre Dame, they have a few tough games this year, but I think they're going to be very good. As a Notre Dame fan. If we play, of course. But 9 and 10, I flipped with Carson there. I think those two are very close. Oregon and LSU. I think Miles Brennan, who is going to be the quarterback for LSU, once again has not really played at all. Same thing with the Oklahoma quarterback. I think is very overrated. I think people are hyping him up too much just because it's a system. LSU lost their offensive coordinator to the NFL, who made Joe Burrow great, honestly, a little bit. Joe Burrow, obviously, who threw 60 touchdowns. He's insane. Their running back. Their number 1 receiver, their number 2, because, Jamar Chase is a beast, but I think that they're not going to be as good as they were last year. They're not going to be great. And then you've got Oregon, who is in I'm going to say a little bit easier conference in the Pac-12.
Yeah, Pac-12 hasn't been very, they haven't been they beat Wisconsin last year.
Right.
In the Rose Bowl, but they haven't been as competitive as past.
Correct. And I think, losing Herbert's a big loss because Herbert's a great college quarterback at points. So, Wisconsin's at 11. I think a big loss in Jonathan Taylor. People don't mention that enough. He's been very consistent over the last few years.
But they've always had a history of great running backs.
Yeah,
so.
I just think he's a big loss. Cone is okay. Not going to be amazing.
I don't know. Yeah.
Auburn, really good. Bo Nix is controversial almost because on my video, I had somebody comment too high. You ranked him too high, and then the other one said too low. So he's people either love him or completely don't like him. And I think Auburn's one of those teams that it's just like Penn State. Very consistent, always good. Sometimes they get that Alabama upset, but they're not quite there since Cam Newton to get, up there in the West. Because they have to compete with LSU and Alabama, which is really crazy. But then
I think the SEC is definitely the toughest conference.
I would agree with that. And then you have North Carolina, who they have Sam Howell, who's very good. But I think besides that, they have some good receivers, but I don't know if they're proven yet to really go out there, but I think they've got a lot of potential. I think they'll win their side of the ACC. Then they have Michigan, exactly like Penn State and Auburn. Very good, but like you mentioned, they never win the big games, so they're never able to get up there, and they're always battled by.
They're always going to finish 9-3, 10-2.
Exactly, or even 8-4-ish around there. USC, I agree, is a little overrated. I do have him pretty high. I'm not a huge Keaton Slovis fan. I think I put him pretty high. He's good, but I don't think he's quite
Is he one of the best?
That's why I don't think so. I had him in my top 15, but not top 10. He just got in there as a freshman. And what I like to mention a lot is I feel like there's a lot of players that succeed because they almost, like in basketball, come off the bench. Like, you're going into the week preparing for this player, and then they get hurt, and then this new guy comes in, and this new guy tears it up. Well, it's because the other team was not preparing for him. And, then you have to adjust. Now there's film on players and that type of thing.
So how's he going to adjust to now being scouted?
Exactly. Yeah, more tape is available on him. At 16, I have Minnesota.
I just want to see if they can do that same thing again. Yeah. I think they can, but, it's going to be exciting.
It is definitely. I think it's between them and Wisconsin for the West. I think they're very good. I think they are being underrated by a lot of people. Their class in a few years is very good, but this year I think they'll be pretty good, and I think they'll be really good in the future. 17, Miami. I am riding this De'Aaron King horse the whole season. Last year I did it for Jalen Hurts. Thought he was going to be the Heisman winner. I mean...
He
was good. He was good. If Joe Burrow didn't happen, he would have had a really good shot. But since it didn't, I think, he didn't. But I think De'Aaron King is amazing. I think he's not being talked about enough. Some places are where I have with Miami. I think they're going to maybe be a 9-win team. They could compete with North Carolina. And others are having them down at 6-6. And I'm like, what? They're going to have a extremely amazing quarterback. I believe I had him number 4 in my rankings, and I think he might even be number 3. I think he's amazing. So he's being not talked about enough. Then you have Texas A&M, another one that is being in the tough conference. I think they're good, maybe a little overrated.
There's a lot of Big Ten, SEC teams.
Right, that are just like that. It's, Texas A&M, to even get a chance, they'd have to compete with Alabama,
Auburn,
and LSU. On a consistent basis, and even over the past few years, they've had to play Clemson over the past 2 or 3 seasons. That's crazy. You're playing the top 2 teams each season. You're never going to be very good. So I think they definitely will do well. I think Kellen Mond is still there, but...
probably 9-3, 8-4 around there. But they're still going to be ranked.
Yeah, and then so you've got... Oklahoma State, which I did not put the note because I think they can. This is their ceiling. This is their absolute highest they could be if there is no Chuba Hubbard. But if there is, I think they're around here, could be a little higher. So I think this is sort of an in-between. If they have Chuba, they're higher.
I mean, they're in a worse conference, so I think they can do a lot better.
Right, exactly, if they have Chuba Hubbard. So that's very important. 20, I have UCF. They're in a lower conference, but I think they are the best team
really
in the American. They maybe, might not win it compared to Cincinnati. That's why those teams are very together. I think they'll play in that championship, and I think they are very close. 22, like you mentioned, Virginia Tech. Might be a little high. Last year they mixed up their quarterbacks. They played with 3 different ones.
I think they still won their division though.
Yeah, they seem to a lot, but I think North Carolina and Miami are sort of on their heels there. But I have them barely in the top 25. 23, Louisville. I think
it might be a little bit high.
Maybe. I think more it's their quarterback is talked a lot about that Mikael Cunningham. I don't think he's the next Lamar Jackson, which obviously he is, and people don't unnecessarily say that. But he was out of Louisville, and I think people are expecting him to be amazing. I think we saw Jawan Pass have a really good season for them, and then Mikael Cunningham took that job. But I think he's a little overrated. But then Texas, like you said, maybe a lot of people overrating it. I had to include them in the top 25 because I think they're one of those teams that they have a very high ceiling. They can absolutely burst onto the scene.
They can run the table. Like
Aaron Rodgers. They can, but will they? So that's why I didn't put them higher than 24.
They have a high ceiling, but yet a very low floor.
Yeah, 25 is Boise State. It's the only non-American Group of 5 team I put in there. I think they're really good. I couldn't put them higher just because of the level of competition, but I knew I had to include them in this list. So I put them at 25. And then California is just on the edge. It's between them and Washington for that 26 spot. Chase Garbers is okay. I guess I like him, but he's not going to be like a star. They've had other players develop there. So I think that they just missed the bubble. So that is my top 25 list, and then we shared cards.
Now on to the news of the day.
Patrick Mahomes has signed a 10-year contract.
Now that is a little bit large.
Yeah, for football, I mean, the last time we saw a 10-year contract was John Gruden as a coach. Yeah. I mean, betting on a player, Patrick Mahomes is a good one to bet on.
$450 million.
$450
$450 million. I don't know about that.
I think it's very important that they needed to keep him. I definitely think that was very important.
Yeah, I think they could have signed him to a more lesser contract.
That's the thing. I think personally, it's crazy to think how the number jumped from 35 to 45 so quickly. But in one way, I'm going to guess then that Mahomes' agency said if you don't get up to 45, we're not going to play or something like that. Because I feel like why would you jump it all the way up to 45? We are expecting maybe a $40 million a year. But 45, like you said, bigger than Mike Trout, who had the previous bigger
in my opinion, I don't think... I mean, Patrick Mahomes is really good. He's really consistent. But I don't think he's at that Mike Trout level. Like, Mike Trout is a Hall of Famer right now. Like, if he literally stepped on the field for one game, he would go into the Hall of Fame of baseball. Because he's just... Like, he can do it all. He can run, hit, field, steal bases.
Right, so I'm going to know quick, he's a big baseball fan, so he's pretty passionate about that. But, yeah, I can see where you're coming from there. Patrick Mahomes, though, I think has the potential to be even up there in the top 5 all-time quarterbacks. I'm going to say that. I think he has that potential. So I think it was very important to pay him.
He could be in that Mike Trout S.
Yeah, but like I said earlier, I'm so surprised the number all of a sudden went from 35, which is what it was, to now 45. I think you're going to have to see now in between there. Like Dak, if in one way... He's not going to get the money he got.
I don't think he's going to get $40 million.
He's not going to get $40 million, in my opinion. I think he ends up being unsigned and goes to the free agency, honestly. I don't think they get a deal.
I think he might get, like, 25, maybe.
Well, no, he's going to get... If they choose to re-sign him, they're going to give him probably 30, 35 mil, maybe even close to 40. But if I'm the Cowboys at that point, I back out. Because Mahomes has set the bar so high. So in one way for Dak, his, like... leverage goes really low because the record is set now. You're not going to be more than Mahomes. But at the same time then he's saying, okay, well, we know that the highest we can go is 45, so I'm willing to go at 40, 30, because I think he wanted 45. I'm actually pretty sure recently. I don't think that's worth it.
I think Dak Prescott is a little overrated.
Yeah, I think he's good enough that if you can keep him around for 25 to 35, I think you should do it. But if you have to do anything more... If
you have to do like 45, or you have to 40, do like 40 million, I think you should. Or even
36, I think you just let him go. So, this is crazy news. I mean, 10 years. 10 years.
I mean, you hear about...
10.
It might have been a little... too many years.
It could be.
Maybe like...
I mean, you're guaranteeing his cap for a really long time.
You're taking the risk that he is going to play at this level until he is 37.
That is very true.
Until the end of the contract.
Just to note, that's older than what Aaron Rodgers is right now, which is what they took in the draft. So, yeah, that's pretty crazy. And there's so much to do there. But next we're going to be talking about, for our final segment... We're each going to have a top 5 Heisman list for the Heisman Trophy, doing the
Heisman Post?
Yeah, that type of thing. So we're going to be doing... Yeah, dude. There we go. So
Here
looking at Carson's, here's what Carson has for his Heisman.
So at number 5, this is more of a dark horse pick because I wanted to do, just in the mix. I think Tanner Morgan's a good quarterback. I don't know if he can win it, because he doesn't have the same receiver core as last year.
He still has Bateman.
Yes, he still has Bateman, probably one of the best wide receivers, probably top 5. But can he do it? Possibly, but will he do it? I mean, he still has 2 more years. I don't really know for sure. And
I think it was smart for you to put him at 5. Sort of he could do it. I'm not going to guarantee it, but yeah. Really quick, if you want to also mention...
Ian Book, he's a very good quarterback. I think he could maybe sneak in to the Heisman list, at like 6.
Yep.
He's right on that bubble, but I think since it's his senior year, I think he's more at 6, and since Tanner Morgan's a junior, I think he still has more time to develop and become a better passer.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he's a very good passer, but, just elevate his game a little bit. And then De'Ara King, I think, he's pretty good. I like him. I think he definitely has the opportunity to. It just, will he? Because he has so many, obstacles to, because he has Trevor Lawrence, one of the probably, this might be a hot take, but probably the best college quarterback.
Yeah, I think that's not a hot take. I think.
And then Justin Fields probably the best sophomore.
Well, they're both the same class.
Oh yeah,
they're both juniors. Yeah. At this point.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, because he transferred. Yeah. But like, he just has so much competition. And then Chuba Hubbard again, very good player, but he could if he doesn't sit out, and he has so much competition. Is he? What's his year?
I think he's a junior right now. I'm pretty actually no, he might be a senior though. Because I think he had the option of coming into the draft last year. Maybe not. That might be this year, actually. I think.
Got it. Okay. And then, you have Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, probably the two best players on all of college football right now. Mm-hmm. But I give the edge to Trevor Lawrence because he is a little bit more experienced. Because Justin Fields, he didn't play in his first year at Georgia. So that's
very limited.
Yeah, it's a very limited play. And Trevor Lawrence took his team all the way to the national title and won it against Alabama. So I think he has a little bit more experience, but Justin Fields has that better upside than Trevor Lawrence.
I can see that.
So I had those two tied, but I gave it a little bit to Trevor Lawrence because he's more experienced and just all around. I think he's better. Yeah, a little bit better.
So I'll then go on to my list, which I also have Ian Book at 6. I think Notre Dame is very always hit or miss. Sometimes I feel like they always get to that 8 to 10, 11 win mark.
But then you'll find them at 5.
Right, 5, 6, 7, 8 in the polls, so they're not good enough to make a playoff, which is important. He's very good, though. Last year he had a high touchdown number, so I think he's there. He obviously lost Chase Claypool is a big target for him. That's not good. But I think it's interesting for him to come back. I think he'll be very good, but sort of a dark horse like you had him. Mm-hmm. 5, I have Jamie Newman, which by the way I did not include Chuba on this list. Even if he did play, I think he'll be up there. But I actually went sort of more go to quarterback route. I didn't include any. Well, I included one, but it seems like you said it felt weird not including running backs. But I only have one. But
I feel like the quarterbacks are more, like, they stand out more.
I feel like there's... I'm going to quick say my top 3 running backs. I think you've got Etienne, you've got Chuba, and then you have Najee Harris from Alabama. But I tried to include as many of those guys, and I just couldn't over some of these. Jamie Newman, I think, is a big upside type of player. I think that it was a great move for him to transfer into a better school. Yes, he's playing higher competition, but I think he's going to do really well given better receivers. They always have a good run game, and I think he's going to be a very big upside type of player. I think that his potential is very high.
Through the roof. But will he live up to it? That's probably the biggest question.
I think some of this, too, is just, like I said, opportunity. He's going to play tough teams, and if you win the SEC, you're into the playoff. It's a guarantee. Oh, yeah. Right, and even making the SEC championship, you'd even have a chance. Yeah. And he can definitely do that.
If you're ranked at,
because the East is a lot weaker, he's just got to beat Florida, and they can make it there. Mm-hmm. So 5 is Jamie Newman because of a lot of opportunity. 4, I have 2 back-to-back from Clemson. I'll discuss that. But so I have Travis Etienne. He's my only running back.
Which is kind of weird,
Right, and I chose to go his route instead of Chuba's. But it's interesting. I feel like this year I almost put the 2 Clemson guys together because I feel like Clemson is going to go either pass-heavy or run-heavy. I feel like either they're going to run the ball a lot because with no Justin Ross, there's not as many good receivers to throw to. So Lawrence struggles a bit, and they go run heavy. They win the ACC, they make the playoff, and then Etienne can dominate. He's a very good running back. He chose to come back to school instead of going into the draft last year, so he's very dominant. But then I have Trevor Lawrence at 3 because figuratively, if they sort of do what they did last year, Trevor would have the better chance of winning compared to Etienne, but he had a down year. I'm going to say last year.
He had a very much of a down
year. He did. I think you sort of saw...
Especially at the start of the year.
Right. I think that Trevor Lawrence, as if you watch my quarterback video, Trevor Lawrence is the best quarterback in college football. He is.
He just needs the...
For translating to the next level, especially, too. He'll be very high in the draft. He should be the number 1 pick. He's got the prototypical, he's got the sized.
Got the prototypical spies.
Yeah, with their Mel Kiper there.
Mel Kiper, yeah.
But he can, sit in the pocket. He's very good. He's gonna succeed in the NFL. But I believe that he's gonna struggle this year. Actually, maybe even two. His freshman year, he's very dominant. Same like I said, no tape.
So
see, it happens again. You got to see this trend that happens. Yeah. So then second year, last year, I think he had more touchdowns, but then you saw more picks. I think he started to take a lot of risks, and it didn't always work. I remember he played Georgia Tech, who in my opinion is the worst team in the ACC, and he threw, I believe it was 3 picks. And it was like, what happened? What happened? He's
and just somehow still
won, probably because they're Clemson, but like he did not have a very good year last year in my opinion. So without his number 1 receiver too, I mean, they lost T. Higgins to the draft, and then now they literally lose Justin Ross, who is would have been a top 3 or so wide receiver. So you're losing your biggest target, and I just that's a huge loss for Clemson. So I have my 3. Like I said, if you guys, before you get mad, Trevor Lawrence is the number 1 quarterback in college football, but for opportunity to win a trophy, I don't think so.
He just doesn't have the people around him to win it.
It hurt me not putting Derek King at number 1. I'm going to be completely honest. I know this is a hot take, but like I said earlier in the show, I am riding this bike. I'm riding this Derek King horse the whole season. Obviously, I'm not old enough to go bet. But if I would, I would spend most...
Are you going to knock on wood?
Sure, I would spend most of my money betting on Derek King.
Ooh.
At least, here's the problem. If I could bet that he's a top 3 to top 5 Heisman candidate, I'm putting all of it. The problem, like you said, competition with these players. For example, I bet on Jalen Hurts last year. Well, obviously I didn't literally, but my type of pick... I thought. Mm-hmm. But like my prediction that is Derek King this year was Jalen Hurts last year, and I'm going to be completely honest.
But I think he has just had a tough task.
He was very close. I think if Joe Burrow didn't happen last year, Jalen Hurts had a very good shot. So that's the problem, is you can see a Justin Fields or somebody come out of nowhere and take it from Derek King. But that's why
I think there could be some other unknown player.
I mean, Mel Kiper had Joe Burrow as a 6th-round pick last year.
And
he went number 1.
To all number 1.
So... Yeah. I think Derek King, like I said, I am believing.
I think if he gets the right system, he could.
I think Miami's going to be very good this year with Derek King. He's got, in my opinion, the best tight end in the nation. They've got surrounding players. He's in a higher level offense. I think their only competition is North Carolina, which is the favorite in their division. But is that really
competition?
Right. I think Sam Howell, honestly, is a little overrated. So I think that Derek King can step in there and even win his division and compete against Clemson. I believe in Derek King that much. In 2018, he had 36 touchdowns and only 6 picks. He has a lot of mobility to this offense. I am believing in Derek King. I'm pounding the table for Derek King. I believe in him.
Well, okay. If there was no Justin Fields,
Honestly, it almost makes me want to switch King to 1, but I'll talk about Justin Fields for a second. Justin Fields was the safer number 1. That's why I put him there. Because if I put Derek King, that's a huge hot take.
That's a hot take, yeah.
I'm already pretty much on a hot take, but that would be, like, extreme. That's like those CBS articles that are clickbaiting you. I'm not that level. I'm not putting Tua Tagovailoa at number 1 on my quarterback list in the AFC East type of stuff. I'm not doing that.
But he would probably still be up there because there's... I mean, Josh Allen's probably
right, Josh Allen's better. And Cam at this point. And so, Justin Fields is the safe bet. He's got his good surrounding core. He's got, a great team. He's got a clear path to the playoffs. He has everything he needs to do what he did last year. And I think he was a little rattled at the end of the Clemson game. He made that really poor decision of throwing it there. But I think he's going to step it up again this year. He's going to do really well. I personally like him a lot. I like for Heisman Trophy, these mobile quarterbacks. Ish. You look at the previous winners. I think it's Kyler was mobile. Lamar was mobile.
Baker was kind of mobile.
A little bit. And Burrow can get out of the pocket. He
probably
can't run, but
5-10 yards at a time.
And he can get out of the pocket.
I feel like there's been a movement to get the mobile quarterback.
Totally. That is why Trevor Lawrence is the number 1 quarterback style. But as a Heisman candidate,
it's Justin Fields.
It's Justin Fields. But like I said, if there was a thing, if you were to figuratively bet, you'd probably have to bet that Derek King wins it, which I wouldn't be confident enough to put all my chips into that. But if there's a bet that says, like, Derek King's a top 3 or even top 5 Heisman candidate, I'm spending all of it on that. I am fully in. I'm spending all of it. I know, this is a hot take, but this is my channel. I just remember, I could be I could be so wrong, like Mel Kiper saying that Jimmy Clausen was going to be a good quarterback.
In 6 months.
In 6 months, if he's terrible, I'm going to look awful on this show, but you know what? I'm saying it right now. If it looks really good, count it, folks. Derek King might win the Heisman Trophy.
Might. So you're not doing a full hot take.
I am 85% sure that Derek King will win the Heisman Trophy.
I'm going to say that Tanner Morgan has a 0.1% chance to win it.
Cool way to claim that now. So, go get your cash at the window. With that being said, I think that's going to pretty much do it for today's video.
Thank you for clicking on this video.
Way to go. Yeah. And thank you to any that stopped in the stream. I'm hoping to, continue to grow the amount of people watching live on the stream. So if you're watching this post, make sure to go down. You got to click that subscribe button.
And then click the bell.
And then you click the bell. And then you click all. Therefore, you get notified when I upload and when I'm about to stream. So, I'm looking to, I made a Instagram for Riley's Red Zone, so go follow it at Riley Red Zone, and go follow me on Twitter at Riley Red Zone as well. So they're also in my my bio on YouTube, and if you're on a computer, a link in the top. So make sure you go check out those, because I'm going to be using those platforms to start messaging people that might want to appear on the show or do an interview. I'm going to reach out maybe some former college players, some former NFL players, and try to get some interviews and maybe, that type of thing on the show. So, I think it's important, too, that we start to get some followers on those, to sort of show, the Riley's Red Zone fan base is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So, because I know on Twitter I've got like 13, and on I just created the Instagram, so I don't have any, but... With that being said, thank you so much for listening. If you are on, by the way, make sure if you're listening on Spotify, Apple, Google, any other thing like that, if you're watching on YouTube, if you prefer podcasts, go ahead and watch them on there. But if you are listening on one of those platforms, make sure to go over to YouTube and watch the video version of this podcast. You get some visual stuff that you just don't get while listening. You get some cool graphics. You get some cool dancing from cars. Just kidding. But we get some cool, awesome stuff. You get me using my hands to just demonstrate my point. That type of thing. So make sure you get Mel Kiper. Well, sure. Well, maybe we'll have to do an impression
maybe
one
time.
Day. And maybe then also stay tuned. We're figuring out grocery games. We're working on it. We're gonna have something for you guys this summer. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching this edition of the Red Zone Review Podcast.